as you already know. Recording is in progress. Please just allow me 1 minute to understand what should I do here. I should share my screen. So yes, this is the screen, I think. You can see it. I will try to introduce you today to a problem that bothers me, I don't know, for a while. And it came from my experience in film, let's say, and the new experience in philosophy and theory of mind. So let's begin, if the presentation will work. So cinema was at its inception a circus-like form of entertainment. Then it becomes a profitable industry, and then later on it struggled to resurrect as an art and developed its own aesthetic language, which is now very, very important one. That time, at the beginning, a guy called Lev Vladimirovich Kuleshov, I hope, Vladi, this is a good pronunciation, was a Soviet filmmaker, one of the founders of the first film school in the world, which was the Moscow Film School. This guy is searching for a way to prove that film is not merely a reproduction of reality, but an art. He imagined an experiment which revealed the inner power of this art, of the seventh art, as it's called. Later on, many others reproduced this experiment, but more important, almost any movie in the world of today can be seen as a reproduction of this experiment. Later on, another guy, Alfred Hitchcock, had his own implementation of the Kuleshov effect, trying to explain for the large public, large people, how cinema is working. And I think this is one of the most simple and intuitive way of understanding the effect. That's why I think we should see it. And now I think
now we come back to his reaction. Now what is now let's take the middle piece of the child, but leave his people where they were. Now we're putting a piece of girl the key. Looks girl in a bikini. What is it now? That the old man is no longer something. That's what.
so. Yes, that's what the film can do for you. Now let's understand this experiment. The pictures were not related in the real world. The only relation being established by their juxtaposition in the sequence, by editing. The effect works with any kind of pictures, but when human face is involved in the process, it is more powerful, and the effect is more powerful. We deal here with an autonomous movie sequence, able to provide a meaning or to communicate a message by itself. Now let's make some more observations on this sequence. It is a silent movie sequence, providing information only by visual means, so no other kind of information. Still, we are able to read a human face, and which is clearly expressing a complex state of mind. First, the man is looking at or to something. Second, the man is somehow excited or enchanted, and we can detect that state of mind. By changing only one picture, the message or the meaning of the sequence is not only altered, but is turned to an opposite direction. And that picture is not related with the state of mind of the character. Also, the content looks real, possible, and unitary. So we perceive it as real, as reality, as close to reality, as coming from reality. Now, what is about theory of mind? Theory of mind aims to explain the way we read other minds, but also our mind, the way we understand an agent's intentions without them being clearly expressed by using, for example, the language, natural language. Even more, Tom seems to be applied to our social relations or communication with other animals. The main assumption of Tom is that we build a theory, a story, based mainly on an agent expression and our own psychology, expectancy, experience, rationality, reasoning, imitation abilities, and other factors. In other words, Tom is based on thinking, on reasoning, and on some psychological skills that we may have. It is currently resumed by the three main theories, and of course, there is an intersection between them. Let's see what they are. First one is theory. It states that we possess some kind of psychological knowledge developed through time, which empowers our ability to understand others. It's also called the naive psychology. The second one is rationalization theory, where we ascribe mental states and intentionality to an agent, considering it as a rational thing. And the third one is the simulation theory, which supports the idea that mind reading comes in two stages. First one, called the basic one, is based on the reading on some stimuli on the and after that reading on the activation of our own mirror neurons, which is a specific system in the brain. The second stage is a kind of theory or a psychological introspection. Now, these are the theories. Let's see how the theories and Kuleshov effect can mix and, of course, collide. The two instances of the Kuleshov effect imagined by Hitchcock disseminate two different interpretations of the character's state of mind. This is the main idea of the Kuleshov effect. But there is only one state of mind expressed by him, because there are the same pictures, exactly the same, identical pictures. It follows that the mental state or intentions attributed to the character by an external observer are clearly determined by the context, not necessarily by reading the state of mind. And the context, the pictures in the middle, are not related with the state of mind. So this is a quite strange thing here. And there are some more contradictions. Apparently, Tom fails here to explain how we read the mind, because we have the same state of mind and it is interpreted in different ways according to a context. But the face of the character clearly expresses a unique state of mind, and we see it. Also, a theory about the character's mind and intention should exist, because we formulate not only one, but two theories about his state of mind. So there is a Tom, there is a theory of mind. Also, there is a quite plain and simple communication process. So there is no communication error to blame. There is not a complex communication, and maybe some stimuli are not perceived or something like this. No, it's very simple. Now, if we have to choose one of the three theories in order to explain the state of mind of this character, maybe the best fit, my opinion, is the best fit is the simulation theory, and my colleagues know my point of view. And according to it, the mind reading process comes, as I said, in two stages. The basic one, activating mirror neurons, and the complex one, which is a kind of naive psychology. At the basic level, we read some stimuli expressed by the agent face or gestures. We react internally using this structure called mirror neurons, who aid us in decoding the message, which means to understand the facial stimuli. At the complex level, in the second stage, We ascribe intentions and a specific behavior to the agent based on our life experience and our psychological abilities. And here's the stage where the context is involved, clearly. Here we think, we create a relation between the character, his face, his age, and a possible nephew and a possible lover. But I think something still doesn't fit in this theory. First of all, in these theories, the state of mind is based on what we are understanding as conceptual thinking. Second, if both layers are involved, we have to exclude other animals because they are not able of conceptual thinking. So, but we know from our daily experience that we somehow communicate with animals, with our pets or something like this. We somehow understand their facial expressions, and somehow they understand our tone of voice or facial expression or some other stimuli. Moreover, some rationalization theory, which is quite excluded by standard simulation theory, occurs in tone because, according to our common sense, we attribute rationality and intentionality to the character. And the Kuleshov experiment, I think, proves that we attribute that. We attribute thinking to the character. If Tom can explain by itself this experiment, I think that if this simulation theory is based on these two stages, I think it's possible, should be possible, for the second level of tone, for the pure conceptual understanding of someone's mind. I think should be able, someone using only this level to understand or predict someone else's mind. But we have a lot of experiences. There are many experiments showing that there is no effective tone without emotional decoding. So we are not really able in our daily life to decode someone else's expressions and meaning and state of mind without decoding at least partly some emotional stimuli. Now, I try to explain that, and I come with some maybe new ideas. What if we consider the basic stage of mind reading as a pure communication process based on subconscious language, which I call a universal language? So we can understand that only as a language for the first part. Then we imagine that at the second level, we do a kind of math, a kind of computation on the information we grasp from the first stage, coming up with a possible model based on analyzing all of the below. The signs expressed by the agent and they are internally converted into meanings in our head, these signs. The context and the rational abilities of the agent, which are very important. Our experience and mental abilities. If I will make a short test here in the room, I think each of us will understand a bit different the expression of the character, not exactly as Hitchcock defined it. And this is why all the characteristics of the observers are important in decoding the messages from the others. There are some consequences of this possible model, of this possible hypothesis. If there is a language, it should be translated. We should be able to convert it using other representations, as with any other languages. The facial expression, I think, should be seen as a partial encoding of a mental state. The facial expression is not expressing the entire state of the mind. And this is quite similar with what the computer is displaying on the monitor. It is not displaying all the data inside it. It is displaying only what we think is useful for for the user. We still can observe that using this new model, we still have two levels, but they are not exactly as in simulation theory. At the level 1, we have only a language, and this is the encoding and decoding of the emotional state of the character. At the second stage, we have both of them. We have level 1 and level 2, a language and the theory. If we have to have another view on this, we will have a language at level 1, which is augmented by the internal processing. Now, let's see if this is this can be somehow demonstrated here. As I said, if it is a language, it should be translated. And I have used here some emoticons. As a parenthesis, the mere idea of us humans creating emoticons, it's a good sign that we understand that there is an emotional language, because we can simplify it and using somehow and some kind of science for these emotions. So this is the first sequence. You can see the character's face. And now this is the second one. And you can see there is a change in the character's face. And you have a specific emotion from there. Look, smiling like a kindly man, as Hitchcock said, and now like a dirty old man. Now, let's translate it using our natural language. A guy looking around sees his grandson playing in the garden and kindly smiles, as a sensitive man he is. This is probably what we ascribe to this character. And now, looking around, he sees his much younger lover sunbathing in the garden and lasciviously smiles, as a dirty man he is. First is a kindly man, then he's a dirty man. In fact, he is this man. This is the picture without the context. We have the first state of mind, the second state of mind. And if you look, in fact, the second state of mind, this smile is quite ambiguous. We can ascribe anything to it. So the main idea is that we cannot understand a state of mind. We cannot decode a state of mind using only the emotional science or what a character or a person is showing to us. Now we have, in fact, one state of mind and three possible understandings, meanings of that state of mind. Now, what I think there are some pillars for this new model I propose. Mind reading is based on a mechanism which includes a language and a computational system. And that computational system is, in fact, the old theory of mind. The language is based on very simple emotions, which are, and this is very important because in psychology, there is a debate about emotions. And there are many considering that there is no such a thing as simple emotions, that all emotions are complex, but I don't have another word. So I will use emotion in my theory. There are emotions and feelings. Complex emotions are feelings, and feelings involve conceptual thinking, abstract thinking, thinking of any kind. I presume that this kind of language is shared among entire animal realm. I think that we can discover and we can develop a language for understanding the emotional state of animals. And also, I think my pets are understanding my face, and I understand they are understanding my state of mind at the same at a specific level, of course. I think this this mechanism, the second level mechanism, is a very complex computational mechanism, which is a kind of integration of all three theories, but maybe some more added to them. Because I think we ascribe the rational thinker when we have in front of us a rational thinker. We do not say that a dog has rationality, I think. But I think the most important observation here is that the two mechanisms can function independently. It is possible to have only the emotional language, and that I think this is what we share with other animals. And after that, the emotional language and the theory is used for humans, for interhuman communication, and probably in the future between human-like AI agents. So this is quite ended. This is a work in progress. Maybe it will. It is a bad work. I don't know. But if the universal language can be the base for understanding and developing a large set of social skills involved in social communication, human-animal communication, and all arts. If not real, this language, the effort will still be valuable for unifying the views of psychology, neuroscience, philosophy of mind, and cognitive science, which all of them, each of them has a different view on the subject. Thank you very much. If you have, thank you very much. If you have questions and I'm able to answer, again, Victor.
Thank you so much for the wonderful presentation. So now I'll just try to return to the meeting.
Just close the presentation.
Oh, stop sharing. Yeah.
Stop sharing. Yes.
Okay, perfect, wonderful. So let's see some questions for Steph. Katalin, I see a hand raised from Katalin. So please, Katalin, go ahead.
Thank you, Victor, and thank you, Steph, for this nice presentation. Of course, we discussed it quite vividly in the last week. And actually, I have one clarification from your side and a question. So the clarification is that it appears that actually all three main theories, the theory, the rationality theory, and the simulation theory, they account very well for the importance of context. So it doesn't seem to be a contradiction. So maybe you can explain a bit more about the why do you see the need coming from the use of context to introduce the idea of the universal language? And the second question, so the second observation is actually a question is, this universal language seems to fit with, at a higher level, with one of the theories. You said that all of them, but actually I'm wondering if you have a preference and why you have a preference. So these are the two questions.
Thank you. I hope that I will escape these questions. Yes, for the first one, the main difference between my model and any theory of mine is how we understand the state of mind. For theory of mind, the state of mind is a conceptual system, is based on concepts. Or for my model, for the language, because I don't have another model for the theory of mind. I just split the theory of mind. I just split the process of reading the mind into stages. But the two stages, which are somehow defined in the simulation theory, are in fact a language, which is something independent, and a theory of mind, which includes parts from all the theories we have. So the main difference is in how we understand a state of mind. And I think that a state of mind, which can be only partially seen or read, can be just an emotional state of mind. A dog is expressing fear, or a dog is expressing a need, happiness to see me. That is a state of mind, has no concept and no thinking involved. There is something else inside. I have some ideas, but there is no time to discuss them. But the expression, the communication process involves only this emotional state that I can perceive. So this is the part of the language. And I think we should take it away and let the theory of mind to be developed based on that, based on this language, but keeping its own understanding of the state of mind as a conceptual one. This is the first question. And second question you asked, sorry.
Yeah, so the second question is about, okay, so we have the universal language, which is this first initial immediate way of reading emotions, right? And understanding the mind. And then you said that we are going to use all the theories, but it doesn't appear we can use all the theories. Let's take the example of Kuleshov effect, right? There is one thing, if I imagine I am that guy that is looking at a young woman, and I imagine that I can want that woman, so this means that there is a sexuality involved, dirty old man, right? And it appears another thing to be that I have this folk psychology understanding that I know some old men, they are looking for young women, and this is not nice. And this is without me imagining it to be in that place. So these are two different ways, two different theories used for this same situations. I'm wondering which one do you prefer and why?
As you already know, I prefer simulation theory because the simulation theory has this emotional part involved. But there, the emotional part is somehow mixed with the conceptual thinking. And this is something that I don't like from that theory. But what is very interesting in simulation theory is this neuroscientific explanation using mirror neurons, which is a very, very interesting way for understanding even my model of language. Because if there is a language, we should have a dictionary inside of us. And we should have a way to create this dictionary. And we should have a way for our brain to learn some patterns and associate them with a meaning. And we already know, and we discussed, and I have another essay for Andrei is prepared for tomorrow, I think, where I discuss a bit about that, how it's possible for the brain, and when the brain is learning this language, because we learn this language. And this happened in the nurturing process. It seems that it happened when we are very, very young. Practically, we are babies. And if we do not understand this, we do not learn this language at that time, at an adult time, we have some impairments in communication. And this is very interesting. But only for answering your question, I think simulation theory is the best theory explaining and very close to my model. But in the simulation theory, at the second stage, we have to admit that there is a rationalization process involved. So I integrate also the rationalization process. And for the first part, we have to agree that if there is a language, it's something independent. It's something that has nothing to do with the theory. Sorry, Sandra. It's okay? Peter?
Yes, thank you very much, Ștefan.
Thank you. Thank you for the questions.
So
Master of ceremony.
what I will do, I will use my power to intervene for a second. Then I will leave Chingis to ask his question, and then I will go to the audience for exactly its power abuse. So I was wondering, because you're talking about, the theory of mind, it appears to me that the Kuleshov effect is just an example of rationality theory that goes bad, basically, because you rationalize things and then you realize, okay, this is not what I rationalized for. So in that context, doesn't it appear to be more the rationality theory used rather than the simulationist theory? So basically, it says that the simulationist theory is used when rationality fails. Does it make sense?
Yes, it makes. But if we understand the theory using my model, Because using my model, you can integrate the rationalization theory. And it is indeed one of the reasons that I integrated here, because it is obvious from the Kuleshov effect that you attribute rationality to the character.
But can you reduce it back to this theory? That's
Yes,
the question.
because if I will not have the stimuli on his face, and if he will not communicate to me some emotional state of mind, I will have no clue about his intentions. So the language is mandatory for any theory.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And sorry about that. So now to leave it to Cengiz, please ask your question.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I hope I will keep it very short.
Take your revenge.
You were talking about communication, attribution of intelligence or mind, reason. Well, I had a course this semester. It was called SETI, Communicating with Extraterrestrial Intelligence. So we were talking about what kind of intelligence we can expect, what can be the message, and what kind of communication it can be. So in this attribution theory, we see that there is the understanding of human communication and human intelligence, and we take it as 0 point, and we start to create some kind of scale, such as you said, your relation with your dogs, for example, they are emotional. But when we think about human communication overall, the emotions, language, ratio, logic, everything is kind of included. So starting from that, we create a hierarchy, and we say dogs are a bit more intelligent, insects are less, rocks are not intelligent. Do you think it can be arbitrary, taking human communication as something to assess other things, if they have intelligence or not, or if it can be considered as communication or not? The reason why I'm asking is that sometimes we were thinking, what if some noise that we find in space is maybe the message, or the oceans, the movement of oceans, or the forest, how they move, maybe that is the message. So what do you think? Do you think choosing human version as for assessing is arbitrary or not?
That's a nice question. I agree with you that anything around us can be a language and a message, and can encode the message, because I have some experience with machines, with computers. I know that we can use any kind of representation to represent something. And this is a language. Basically, this is a language. When you have a dictionary with a meaning associated with a sign, that's a language. But the main idea with languages is that you have to know them. If you don't know the language, you cannot understand the message, and the message becomes noise. For example, I cross the street because I see the green light on the street. But for a dog, there is no convention, and it is not able to understand that convention that we have with green and red lights. But still, dogs are crossing the street in the right way, most of them. Why? Because they are imitating us. For them, this is a kind of language. They can grasp a kind of meaning from that. It is meaning because we call it meaning. We do not have any clue that for a dog there is something called meaning, or there is something called in any way, or it's not only a causal relation in its brain. I don't know that. But the idea is that humans, as a reference for the communication, is not necessarily a good idea for understanding the universe, but it may be. We don't know. I'm not sure if I answered your question.
Yes, thanks. It was a kind of clarification, and it's a question that I also don't have an answer. So, thank you.
Maybe we discuss about that in the future.
Yeah, hope so.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And now I'll give way to Sandra. Thank you for being patient with me. Do you want to come here to ask? Yeah. Sure.
So, Steph, thank you so much for
There.
this is so strange. Like,
Yes, yes.
okay, it's going
should
to
be
be a
here
meta
also.
discussion.
She's discussing with me, not
I'm
alone.
talking to Steph in.
No, she's talking
in
with the
Zoom.
display of the computer.
I can't talk to you in another way. So
Okay.
let's do it like this. So I
Yes.
won't address many questions. I'll do that tonight in the round table.
Thank you very
But
much.
two questions. Is this universal language based on concepts?
No.
No. So you would say that it's like a direct mediator between the phenomenal experience one has, because you're talking about emotions there. Do I need to be aware of my emotions in
No.
order for you to
No.
understand that?
Not necessarily.
Okay, so it's like a direct.
Yes, it's quite.
So how is that learned then?
That's very interesting. Let's imagine that we can compare it with the street sign language, where you will go on the street with a car and you know that you have to stop or you have to go because you see some signs. You learn these signs because you go to the school for driving, okay? You learn them.
Okay.
And you say that I see red, I stop. I see green, I go. It seems that on nurturing process of a baby, in direct relation with his mother, mostly, but with his father also, the baby is learning how to behave. And there is the oxytocin involved in that, acting probably like a marker, helping the baby to memorize a face and an expression and associate it with an emotion, with a state of somehow. And this is a very, very complex process. It takes a lot of time. And if you think about yourself, you learn to express your emotions and you learn to understand emotions during time. And there is no conceptual learning there. You just learn, you just see a face, understand it, then see it again. And if you are involved in a marriage or in a relationship, you acquire the knowledge about your partner easier after some time because you learn. This face is okay, we can go there. This face is no way. So you learn that.
Okay. But in order for you to notice a face and recognize it as a face, not just, background noise, don't you need to have a concept for face? Because I pretty much like what you're saying, but without concept
not really.
preceding it.
Not. I think not really. I don't know exactly. This is a tricky question and a tricky answer. It seems that we recognize faces, and a lot of other animals, even insects, are able to recognize faces. Why faces and not hands? I don't know. It seems that a face is something very important. For humans, for mammals, for many animals, the face is like a computer display. Why is that? I don't know, because a face, there are some explanations based on the evolutionist model, but sometimes I think your face is going against you. So why we are expressing emotions? I don't know. Why our face is able to move, the muscles on our face are able to move in order to express something in the direct correlation with our neuronal states of mind, internal neuronal states of mind. So feelings, I don't know, but it happened.
Lovely. So I love that. We're going to definitely discuss this later. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. You should bring some coffee.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. Are there more questions from the audience?
Oh
Vladi,
my God, Vladi, of course. Come on.
If
Yes,
you want to,
you
you can ask your question directly.
Because I can see Steph.
Yeah, you can just ask the question.
First of all, a low-level mind reading versus high-level mind reading. You based your first level on emotions, but what about other types of low-level mind reading? Why you haven't accounted for that? Like in intentionality, like in the intentional movement, eye tracking, those are low-level mind reading that don't require any sophisticated theory of mind and concepts, but they language? Why?
Yes. In my presentation, I talk about facial expression, which are, I think, the most important, and also gestures, different gestures.
No.
Eye moving, dilatation of eye, anything like this. So any sign that you can express in relation with your emotions can be triggered, I think. But the most important are based on the face, and the Kuleshov effect is based on the face also.
The question is that not all of the lower level of mind reading is about face.
No, yes, you're right.
Exactly. So,
But all the signs, all these signs, all the other signs can be the part of this language.
but why?
Because it is a language.
You made this specifically a language. You made it specifically about faces and emotions. But I point out that there are other low-level mind reading cases which not concern faces and not concern emotions at all.
I agree with you, and
So,
I agree
how do
with
they
you.
fit into this?
They can fit in the same theory. How? In the same way.
Do you
Yeah.
have another component of the theory? Or?
No. They're signs. They're signs. They're gestures. They're signs that can be perceived. The most important thing is to have a sign and to acknowledge a meaning of it. For example, there are signs culturally implemented, different ways of moving your hands, for example, or a way of, for example, if someone will step like a soldier, will communicate you something. So it is because anything, any sign that can be detected, and any sign that can have associated a meaning, it can be involved in a language. And the cinema as art and other arts are using this language.
I think that's a wonderful discussion for our roundtable. We will definitely debate that more. For now, I want to take I would say 6 minutes break, if everybody's fine, until 1:55. So basically, we'll return with another presentation in 5 minutes. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. And thanks, Steph, for a wonderful talk. And thanks, Victor, for introducing him and for moderating the Q&A.